Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. You are visionaries, you are change makers, and we are very happy to share. I'm very happy to share the stage with Mr. the Ambassador of Indonesia in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. So I think to begin with, it's very important to share some key facts about Indonesia. Indonesia, we all have in mind in Western countries, a country, this is a post-war country. But Indonesia, I am journalist in economic media, and I am witnessing big things regarding Indonesia. Indonesia is not just a far away country. It's a country which is very dynamic. It's a country that something is happening. It's a country of the future. So I have an eye since the past years in Indonesia, because I'm very curious and interesting to see how they are going to transform the country in the next 2 decades. The ambitions is huge. Indonesia aims of integrating the 5 most developed and poorer country in the world in a visionary plan for the 2 next decades. So now I will just let you know some key figures. So Indonesia, it's about 280 million inhabitants. I think you are the 5 most populated country in the world.
Yeah. In terms of population.
In terms of population, it's 17,000 islands in the country, and about 1,000 different ethnic groups. So it's huge. It means diversity. And some just over point, Indonesia detains 33% of the world nickel. Nickel is not a common resource. We need nickel for electric cars.
Yeah.
And also it's the 10th country in terms of gas production, and even in cacao. Just to understand that Indonesia is a country who has rich resources. But now Indonesia is starting, he has the ambitions to be one of the leaders of the world. So I'm very interested to ask you, Mr. Ambassador, how are you driving this transformation? Because when we are transforming and leading the disruption, we need to be very careful about gender gap. And how are you going to put the focus on to face all these challenges?
Well, in addition to that facts, also many people do not understand. If you are flying from east to west in Indonesia, it's just like more than east to west in the US. So it needs 7.5 hours flying directly, and this is across the island. We are situated in the equator, and of course, when we are talking about diversity, it's so diverse, and of course, when we are talking about gender empowerment, I made in my opening remarks before about this issue has already been embedded into the struggle of Indonesia before its independence. So we are very much making a lot of progress in terms of gender empowerment. We have female president. By the way, Indonesia is the largest Muslim population in the world, but we have female president. It was not easy, and a big country like the US never have a female president yet. And we also have this Speaker of Parliament 2 terms in a row already, among the dominated, male in the parliament, in the politics. But we are also increasing, by law, the government making an obligation to have at least 30% of female parliamentarians. It was registered 37.5%, but finally elected was only 22%. I mean, this is election. This is very fair. And then we are. I think we are. We need to increase more and more in the diplomatic job, like where I am now. I think in the past 15 years, every diplomat recruited by the ministry always above 50% female. So this is really quite advanced. But again, like in many other countries, we also have challenges, which is I call it as classical challenges: access to education, access to capital, perception. Sometimes is also really big things. A big challenge that we are facing. I was ambassador to Singapore for 5 years. When I was there, I was trying to also bring Indonesian, women to tell the community in Singapore on what they do, to make impact in their own communities as educators, as parliamentarians, as leaders. So with the hope that, of course, people will be encouraged, people will be getting inspirations to replicate what this successful women has already been doing to make an impact to the community.
Yeah. And in a world of communication, you talk about perception. How are you trying to change the narrative about Indonesia? Because I guess in the audience, did you know that the country was leading by a woman? I don't think lots of you were aware about it. So we are not in the Western countries. We don't know how advanced you are about gender, female issues. So how are you working to change the narrative so that people understand all the transformation happening in Indonesia?
I could blame myself as a diplomat. I have to, bring this information to the world. So if this is not working yet, so I blame myself. Perhaps Indonesian diplomat need to do more. About the culture in Indonesia is always like, because people are very decent. They don't want to be seen like I'm very successful, I'm leading. But I think we need that to change that attitude. At least to tell the factual information about the country. We are a country where I mentioned earlier we have 700 different languages. It's different languages. If you ask me how many languages you are mastering out of 700, perhaps only 2. This is not also fluent. But how can you be united as a country? Because we have different ethnic groups, we have all of the religions in Indonesia. We are situated across 7.5 hours flight. But again, how we will survive, how we are going to survive. And the most important thing is how can we make impact? And in this undertaking, of course, the role of women is embedded into this project. It is not, they will automatically involve. I mentioned about ASEAN. ASEAN is an organization of 10 ASEAN member states. We started the organization with only combined GDP only $10 billion. But after 50 years, 5 decades, we are now already almost $4 trillion economy. So, this is really a very significant, growth. And we know we achieved this success. But at the same time, when we look at the future, 20 years down the road, ASEAN leaders adopted ASEAN Vision 2045. And in this vision, the role of women has to be, always involved from the design of the activities in order to implement the vision, the implementation. From the beginning, they have already been involved in the design of the political security community blueprints, implementation, economic community blueprints, and also socio-cultural blueprints. So they will be involved very, actively. And when we are talking about geopolitical competition like what we are facing now, I think the role of women is also, very crucial in order to promote culture of dialogue, culture of peace, in order to, to change the culture of conflicts to culture of, peace and dialogue and conversation. So just now I'm talking about what are the women in our region has already been doing. They have been engaging with all of the women in the region. I know in Europe and the US, you are also engaging among women in the US and Europe. I think this is also the time to bring together all of them to really, understand what are the common challenges that we are facing, what are lessons that we can learn from each other. So that is the reason why I think this initiative is commendable. So I would like to, to congratulate all of you who has already been able to make this event happen, not only happening, but also impactful to the community.
Yeah. And you shared during your opening speech that most of Indonesian women, they are working in the business of gastronomy, culinary, craft. So today we are living in a world of technology. And we know that the gender gap is huge. How do you integrate this issue, this challenge, to make sure that in the next transformation of Indonesia, women will have key roles in the new big giant of IT, all these industries? Generally, we can only find men, the men working there. So how do you encourage concretely female to go and to work in this industry?
Yeah. So out of 280 million people, we have around 84 million people who are involved in this creative industries and digital technology. The classic problem that they are all facing is, of course, access to capital. How to promote digital illiteracy to become digital literacy. Of course, the initiative should not be only at the national level, at the regional level, at the global level, but also at the local level. And there are a lot of stories that we can share, and to enhance that stories into something that all of the people could learn on how to, be impactful, on how to make the change in the world, and how to increase their role in the society. So it is a continuing process. We should not complacent about this, the success that we achieve, but it is also a continuing process that we need to continue having this conversation happening, not only in Europe or in the US or in Asia, but also at the national level. Looking at, in our case as well, as I mentioned to you, we are very diverse, society. But I think this is also should happen in our community at the local level as well.
Yeah. And also an important fact that Jakarta is not anymore the capital of Indonesia. Mm-hmm. Now is
still the capital.
Still,
we are about to move to the new capital, but I think it is delayed a little bit to 2028 because building a new capital is really very costly. But one thing that when you heard about the reason why we are moving our capital to Borneo Island, because Jakarta or Java is sinking. So I think literally it's not sinking.
Like
I
this,
mean,
yeah.
The capital that we now live in is the capital of the colonial master before. So we were colonized by the Dutch. I think the reason why they choose this location, it is similar to location in their home country, Netherlands. So it's under the water. So this Jakarta is basically surrounded by mountain, and the sea level is in fact higher than the ground. So that is the reason why they built so many canals before. But of course, in the modern era like we have now, urbanization is happening in most of the developing countries. So people are trying to go to the capital city because they know that this is the center of the economic activities. So the capital is becoming very populated. When daytime we have a population of perhaps more than 15 million people, but in the nighttime less than 10 million people because they go to the surrounding city. And this is the challenges that we are facing all in mostly the developing countries. And the role of women is also very important in order to to make sure that when we move to a new capital, the government was saying that, okay, you are not going to bring the family first because the accommodation is not enough. So how to convince this should also be done in a harmony, in not really jeopardizing the value of our families in the workforce who are working in the government sectors. So we have already the building in the new capital, but they are not yet using it now because they are planning, they reschedule it to 2028.
Yeah. And how do you work to make the new capital a hub, an economic hub? Now, today, people are massively investing and relocating in Dubai. And of course, Singapore is always so attractive. And entrepreneurs of the world see as a promised land Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, of course, and Miami. And how do you work? Are you working to make Indonesia a kind of promised land and to encourage investment?
The mentality of Indonesia, because there was a very famous song. Whatever you do in Indonesia, you find a branch, you put it on the ground, it grows becoming tree. You have a pond, there will be fish there. So spoiled, because so rich. You're talking about nickel, but we also have other, mineral resources. We are one of the richest in terms of, marine biodiversity. We have the richest in terms of coral reef. So we have everything. So that was the reason why perhaps the mentality of the Indonesian people, let's not, build Indonesia as a hub like in Singapore, because we will have a lot of resources. But I think I'm very proud to say that we are not a hub, not the economic hub, not a transportation hub, but we are a hub of peace and stability. We are a hub of promoting dialogues over confrontation. We are a hub of promoting partnership over, zero-sum game competition. So this is the reason why I remember vividly back in 2018, our president then was so worried that war may break out in the South China Sea. If you read from the newspaper, you're following the media as if that at any time war can happen. So, but there are invisible hands working in order to prevent that from happening. Because the president was saying once this is started, at that time, 2018, telling the international community, it is very difficult to end. It is very difficult to stop. So that was the reason why we keep on, if you look at foreign relations, diplomacy, Indonesia has a very good relation with China, with the US, with the European Union, with all of the countries. We don't have any difficulties in having conversation to all. So we would like to use this as a hub to promote dialogue, as a hub to promote partnership, as a hub to maintain peace and stability, as a hub for gender empowerment, things like that. So we are very proud. We are playing that important role in the past 5 decades after the foundation of ASEAN.
Yes, Mr. the Ambassador, but we need to make some real politics because when you will change a little bit the balance when you will join, if you reach your goal, your target to become the 5 most powerful economy of the world, you will change a little bit the balance. So locally, so how do you make sure that all your neighbors will still see you, perceive you like a land of stability, not too much power? They will see you like a good partner, not someone we will handle so much political, economic, technological power.
Yeah.
So how do you work on
Well, until now, even we have this peace and stability for more than 5 decades, it doesn't mean that we don't have problems. We still have problems. We still have dispute. We still have unsettled, territorial dispute. But we agree, all of those disputes should be settled through, negotiation, diplomacy, and dialogue. And that really, bring a lot of confidence to the countries in the region, because we are so confident that we are not going to attack each other. So we are concentrating on economic development. And we just realized now that our military is not as advanced or is not as modern as it's supposed to be. So because we are investing in human resources, we are investing in economy, we are not investing in military. So I think, the countries in the region never think now as what we thought before. 5 decades ago, whenever there is an issue, dispute, we will mobilize our military to the border. They never have that thought now. So we hope through this conversation, through the dialogue that we keep on promoting, it will still, make the region very peaceful. Despite, as you said, the challenges is there. So we were confronted with the economic crisis back in 1998. It was very bad economic crisis, but at the same time, to overcome economic crisis, we were able to also, making a very fundamental reform in our country, in our region as well. We were faced with the financial crisis 2008, but we recovered sooner rather than later. We were confronted with COVID. Nobody knows about COVID, how to address COVID, but we were recovering again, in terms of economic growth, very, very rapidly in the region. If perhaps I'm telling you that just over a decade, the trade relation between ASEAN and China is almost, in terms of value, the same with trade relation between the European Union and the US. You can imagine this is only over a decade. So how big is the potential? So that is the reason why we would like to really, bring countries all together in a dialogue, in the culture, in developing culture of peace, in developing culture of partnership, so that we will be able to, live. I mean, that is perhaps very ideal, but at least we live in a world where people can still, do whatever they would like to do and make a positive impact to the community.
So Indonesia is like the Switzerland of Asia. Thank you very much for sharing your precious insight and your message, peaceful message as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully that you will have a different understanding about the country. And for those of you who've never been to Indonesia, please come. So if you will not sorry about, your experience. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for that.